to the Max Effort Kitchen. There it is. This is a podcast.
Yes, it's called Weightlifting Conversations.
Weightlifting. We are having conversations about weightlifting, and we're going to call it Weightlifting Conversations today. So welcome, everybody. I'm Matt. This is Cornell. How you doing, Cornell?
Good.
It's all right.
A crazy day with the time change, and my daughter's car didn't work, so we had to take it into a shop and get it towed. And they're like, the tow truck driver will be there at approximately 5:45, and it was like 4:15. So my wife's like, I'm gonna go jump in the shower, and I was working on the house because I'm still working on it. Like 5 minutes later, I look outside and the guy's out there.
Oh,
I'm like, I wasn't involved in any of this. I mean, I'm my let's say toxic personality is I don't like to get help from people.
Yes.
So I said if she knew where she wanted to take it to figure it out, because we have AAA, I'm the kind of person to be like, I'll go rent a car trailer and I'll go pick it up and take it over there. So I was just totally out of my wheelhouse with someone's here. Where's it going? I don't know.
I like that move because I tend to do that the same thing where I'm like, yeah, I'll just do it. I don't need anybody's help. Or like if like parents want to be a part of something like with the sports or whatever, I'm like, nah, you know what? I got it. Don't worry about it. But I don't know. I've always been told that that's some man thing. Who knows? But I don't know. Yeah.
Well, for me, I think it's being self-employed for basically my whole life, where the hardest thing is learning to let other people come and help you.
Yeah.
And I know that I can do it better, and I know I'll do it right the first time, but I am only one of me, and I can have 25 people working at 25 different places right now. So that's a whole lot more money that I'll make doing that.
Yeah. I mean, you're not lying about that. But I will say that, there's something to be said about making, like, in my job, I have a boss, but he's not like micromanaging me. He looks to me to tell him what's going to happen a lot of the times. And so I'm not employed by myself, but I am responsible for my own stuff.
Sure.
And it's like, you take a day off. Yeah, I don't care. Take your day off, but you just better have your shit done. And so that leads to that kind of thing as well. Like, yeah.
Sure. And one of the things with this whole situation is my daughter is almost 17. So we're like, all right, well, we just thought it was a dead battery. So I went and got the charger out, and it said the battery was bad. And so then my wife was like, I think this is a good time for Danny to learn how to do this. So she called AAA, and we're like, you have to talk to somebody. You have to call them. And she's like, what? And she calls them, and it says, press 1 to continue this conversation via text. She pressed 1 and hung up, and everything else was done through text. So,
dang. I mean, I like that though. Like it's like different levels in life. You got to learn how to do that stuff. And I remember being a teenager and learning how to do that stuff, and being forced to do it not because my dad was like being ultra progressive, but he was a single parent, and he was like, if you want this, you're going to have to figure out how to do it on your own. So I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
It's funny. My son is the complete opposite personality, where he had some Pokemon cards that he found out were worth some money. And then he's trying to talk me into taking him to the place. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. So my wife's like, I'll go. And then he just walks in like he owns the place and just pulls out these Pokemon cards. He's like, what do you give me for these? And I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
And my daughter doesn't even like to go out to eat at restaurants because she's scared she'll see someone she knows. And my son's out there, what are you going to give me for this?
I love it. I love the different personalities. Thinking, talking about my son or our sons, our kids, I got to give my kid a shout out. Sorry, I couldn't get the words out. Got to give the Tiger Tornadoes. They won the championship this weekend. It was Jack's first year playing basketball. Mind you, 4th grade basketball. So we're all thinking, yeah, probably not that big of a deal. But like Damon came and he can attest to like, it was pins and needles the entire time. Really good competition. The score was 4-2 at the half. But that's not because like they were bad. It was just like they were really good defensive teams. It ended up getting much higher than that. But big shout out to Jack. You kicked butt and finished your first year of basketball and won a championship. I never won championships as a kid. Did you?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not. But
Yeah.
I'm picturing how old is he? Is he 10?
He's 10. Yeah.
Okay. I'm picturing like them all lining up to play basketball. It's like, oh, we need to get that kid. He's over 5 feet tall.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Compared to like in real basketball, it's like that person's almost 7 feet. But when they're in like 4th, 5th grade, it's like that kid's 5 feet tall. He's huge.
He's huge. They have a kid that's 5'2", and Damon and I have named him Mini Shaq. So we're just, and it's whatever. But the kid was good. It was a fun season, and overall, the best thing about the championship is they didn't hand out medals, they didn't hand out ribbons, they didn't hand out trophies. It was just like, yeah, these are the 2 best teams in the league. You guys are going to play each other very last game. Done. And I liked that. Nice. I thought that was pretty cool.
Cool.
Dude. Have you? I know you're still working on your kitchen. I know you got a lot of it done. Have you started back into the journey of cooking? Doing anything fun?
I have, but it's nothing outside of the normal standard, basic stuff. It's much more on that just trying to survive kind of thing. I did make some really good lamb chops the other day.
Nice. Lamb chops are underrated, I think.
Yeah, I was just at the store, a store I don't normally go to, but I was going in there just to get some meat, and they had some real good prices on some lamb chops, like $7.49 a pound.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a couple packages of those, and they were delicious. And other than that, I got back to when I hooked up the coffee maker's always been hooked up, but I think we talked about it maybe on the show last week about timing the espresso.
Yes.
And I did recalibrate everything because I was down to like 18 seconds instead of 30 for 40-ish grams of coffee espresso. So now I have it. I had to turn the grinder down to the number 2.
Yeah.
I don't know where you keep yours. I know every bean is different.
It depends on the bean. So, yeah. I mean, if I have the bag of Starbucks, it's the Costco Starbucks bag, I'm generally doing it about a 3 to 4. But if I have anything worth quality, it's going down to a 2 to 1, somewhere around there. So
we get I think it's Lorenzo or something from Costco.
That's good stuff.
So that's just been our standard for probably like at least a year and a half, 2 years. But again, each bag is different. So you gotta mess with each bag.
It really is. And I think it took me a second to figure that out with that espresso machine, that like I just put in, I thought I had it dialed like with a bag and dialed up. And then I put in a new bean and it's like, what the heck? I'm looking at my wife. What did you do? Like, she's, I didn't touch it. And then I realized it was the bean and I'm the big asshole. So, but I've noticed that I show patterns in life, and I show this pattern in weightlifting too. But in my cooking, I go through these big like ebbs and fall, like valleys and peaks and whatever analogy you want to use. But I took a day off on Friday, which was really cool because it's been a couple stressful, about a month of a lot of working, 6 to 7 days. And just, all for good stuff, but just a lot of work. And so I took a day off, and it was really nice. Had the house pretty much to myself. Kids were at school. Alana was working, but she was in the office. Door was shut. So I turned on some music, and I cooked. And it was very therapeutic. And it was like, there's just a moment within cooking with me where I get this way with weightlifting too, but I get so like involved in what I'm doing. Everything in the outside world is gone, and it's just like flowing, and things are happening, and it feels so good. It is just like I think I told a buddy, I was like, this is just like fed my soul because I needed it, right? But I made an olive oil cake, which is pretty basic, a lemon olive oil cake, just replacing butter in a cake batter with olive oil, but it just cooks up a little bit differently. Have you ever had one before?
I've had it, but I didn't know what the difference was. It just tastes like cake.
Yeah, it's a different fat, and all it does is it makes it a little almost like the cornbread texture, a good blend between a cake and a cornbread texture.
Like a little spongier or something?
Yeah, a little spongier, a little crummy. Like, you know how cornbread kind of breaks up a little bit? Yeah, something like that. I put a bunch of lemon zest in it and some Marionberries, and pretty easy dessert. Then I cooked, or I made lasagna, but the store didn't have lasagna noodles. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to make lasagna. I'm going to make pasta. Made some fresh pasta, did the lasagna, and like, I'm pretty sure my wife has had one piece of it. I've eaten the whole tray.
Nice.
So, the entire batch. So I think I have one little square left. I'm taking to work tomorrow, but dude, it kind of leads into something I wanted to talk to you about, because you have a lot of experience with this, and it's the idea of how we manage our weight, how we gain weight versus how we drop weight. You know, we've been pretty strongly about the idea of, you know, not to cut. But let's turn it around. Like, if you were to add weight, aside from just eating food, like I'm eating 2 meals per meal right now. Like, I'm putting in some calories. What would you do? I need to gain like 4 kilos.
How much weight am I? Okay, so yeah, that was going to be my question: is how much weight am I trying to gain? How quickly am I trying to do it? What is it for? Like, am I going up a weight class? Is this a long-term thing?
No, this is just like
3 weeks to put on 4 kilos.
Yeah, I got 3 weeks to put on 4 kilos, and you know, and it's no rhyme or reason. It's just that I think I in my mind feel I lift better at around a certain weight, and when I'm around between like 100 and 102 kilos, I feel good. I weighed myself. I'm at about 97 right now. I don't like that. So, and I'm like I said, I'm putting away the food. But what kind of advice do you have for people out there?
Well, I don't know if you want to hear this, but
okay.
I wouldn't worry about trying to hit 102. I would worry about making sure you're eating enough to maybe be able to get an extra workout in and not feel sore. And just that as long as you're eating enough that you are, when it's time to train, you feel as close to 100. I mean, we're old and beat up. So as close to 100% as you can, then I think that's the biggest thing. One of the things that I used to do for a couple of years, when I would have a big meet on the books, I would actually cut weight about I would try to get down about 4 to 5 kilos below my body weight about 2 months out.
Yeah.
And then what I would do is I could increase all my calories for the next 2 months and be in a pretty good surplus to put that weight back on. And what that did is I knew it was going to get heavier. I knew it was going to get harder. So I wanted to be able to increase what I was eating instead of like crash diet at the end or pay attention to what I need to do. I mean, when you're months out and I would try to be at that body weight. So if I was going to compete at 109, I would try to be down around 103 about 2 months out.
I like that.
So for maybe a month and a half or 2 months, I'm slowly dropping some weight where you're in that phase where it really doesn't matter. And you're just you're moving, you're making sure the body's moving well, but you're not in that starting to push for that peak yet.
Yeah, no,
and then I could add in easily an extra 500 to 1,000 calories a day.
Now, are you doing it through, protein shakes? Are you doing it through just meat? Are you doing it through just consumption of calories? Like, what's your kind? Do you have a go-to? Because I have a go-to. Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. It's just, I'm just putting calories in my body. You know, I mean, I'm
not trying to put crap in there.
Yeah. No, I'm not like, listen, if I go to fast food, it's probably going to be for breakfast. Gotcha.
You're frozen.
So are you.
Clock's ticking.
It's still going. I don't know what's happening here. I'm going to tell my people to get off their Wi-Fi, but I will.
I heard a laugh. I heard.
Uh-oh. Is it going to die on me? It's going to die. Oh, there you are. You got it? You there?
Something's going on.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to text you. Do, 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 do. You there? Oh, well, we lost Cornell. Okay. So I guess where I was going with that is the idea that of putting on weight in order to lift to a certain performance. And I came from the school of more weight moves weight, moves more weight. And so there's that thought there. I was really just talking to Cornell about that because he has some really good thoughts on the whole weight loss and adding of weight. And I think my go-to is just doubling up on each different meal time. So I'm double breakfast, double lunch, double dinner, definitely having double dessert, and I'm definitely throwing in some like massive 400 calorie protein bars in between all that. And so there's this idea that I'm just mass consuming the calories that need to be consumed in order for lifting to keep on happening in a way that is feasible. Because ultimately, only thing I've really noticed actually is the recovery phase of it, which recovery and food go right hand in hand. It's just one of those things that I think it's a tough one to do sometimes. And I have been in a place with weightlifting that has gotten in my head a little bit. And so when that happens, I tend to just kind of jump around in my head and start picking apart everything. And when I start picking apart everything, I start going down a really deep road of what's going on. And looks like Cornell just texted me. His computer something's going on with the computer. There he is. So I go down this dark road, and welcome back, Cornell.
I'm back.
Hey, I got you. I tried to improvise there.
I heard something about a dark road.
Yeah, I went down a dark road. I was going down into the I guess what I was talking about was there's this idea that I'm in this mode right now with weightlifting where I'm getting ready to compete, and there's a couple factors in play. First of all, I made the choice not to compete for about half of the year last year. So ultimately, I only did one competition. And now I'm coming up to the first competition of this year. And I've gone down some dark roads with the picking apart what's going on and what's wrong and all that stuff, and really trying to dive in to see what's going on with all that stuff. Somebody told me today, they were like, listen, tissue in your body, your muscle tissue, it doesn't know stress differences. So like work stress, family stress, any other outside stress, weightlifting stress, it doesn't know the difference. So if you're walking into the platform or onto the platform and you've already got some work stress going on, it's stressed out, which is going to make your lifting harder. And it's going to make your ability to transfer positions harder. It's going to make your ability to lift the weight harder, lock out harder. And so it's the idea that like, and you had kind of alluded to this over the week on the polo, which was the being able to walk out on that platform and shutting everything off. I haven't mastered, or I haven't even figured out how to shut off my work brain. I can pretty good about my family because they're supportive of what I'm doing. Work doesn't give a shit. But being able to shut that off That's a tough thing to do. I tried meditating. It didn't really work. I tried giving myself time, between the time I get home to the time I get on the platform. It kind of worked. I was like, well, I'll get somebody down there with me in the garage, because when you lift alone, you lift alone.
Yep.
But it's this thought that, like, how do we shut our brains off?
Sure. Did you talk about that book that my buddy told me about?
Not yet. I haven't brought it up yet.
So one of my buddies that I work with, he was talking, we're in some random conversation, and I don't generally like to bring up weightlifting with people because I don't want to have to answer all the questions. But he was talking about a bunch of the stress going on in his life, and that he was recommended this book. And I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. At least I tried to find it on audio because I won't read it. He thought it was called Don't Think. And basically the book is learning how to just stop thinking about stuff. And what he was telling me, so this is all word of mouth secondhand, that if you stop and think about the happiest moments of your life, like what were you doing or what were you thinking about? And you're like, I have no idea. I probably wasn't thinking. It's like, exactly. You were just living in the moment and you were right there.
Yeah.
And I was like, when he was explaining this stuff, I'm like, that's why I love weightlifting so much, is because when it comes time to lift the weight, you can't think. Like if you're thinking about other things, then you're not going to perform how you're supposed to perform. And if you're supposed to be lifting heavy, it's not going to be a good situation. I do find it, I know there's a lot of people who like to put headphones on. For the most part, I do my best not to ever wear headphones. There's certain times where I do, but it's not in standard everyday training. Okay. That to me is, I want to be present. I want to be knowing what's going around everywhere. I want to, I don't want to have such a crutch that I can't, if I don't have my headphones, I don't know what to do. Cause I've been in that situation before where I'm an hour away from my house, 15 minutes from the competition. And I was like, I forgot my headphones. And I was like, well, I guess I don't need them. I don't normally lift with them. I just, the normal time that I would put my headphones on is in competition settings. And I'm totally fine without them. I like to be present at the gym with the people around. Even though this is a sport that we are doing solo, you're still on a team and you still have friends that you are doing this with people.
Yep.
So, and if you just put your headphones in, you're not going to have those good days where like the gym is cranking and everyone's on fire and like you're feeding off of each other. Because if you put your headphones in, you're going to be in your own little world.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, and I have another thing that if I'm coaching and someone's got their headphones in, I don't talk to them. I'm like, you want to be in your own little place? I'm not going to, if you're not going to be willing to listen to what's going on here, I'm not going to be the one who's waiting for you to take your earbud out and doing all this kind of stuff so that I can tell you something. I'm like, no, you've checked out. So I'm not going to put in that effort with anyone with headphones on.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And so something I was thinking about as you were talking about that is the aspect of, and you talk about this a lot actually, which is the aspect of going to a gym that has people in it. And luckily, you have a gym that has all weightlifters in it. And that right there, I don't know about you, but like if I'm in a bad mood and I go outside of my environment and maybe I go to the store, that bad mood starts to go away because you're in a different environment. You're around other people. Most of the time, I would imagine that everybody at your gym is probably, for the most part, happy, or there because they want to be. But when my struggle is going down to the garage by myself, and anybody who knows me well knows that I'm an overthinker, and I do that. And that is my toxic trait. I am an overthinker, and being alone in a garage in a gym can only escalate that overthinking. So lately what I've been doing is I've been telling my wife I got a chair that sits right in front of my platform, and I go, come down here. I just need you to stare at me like while I lift. I don't even care what you say to me. Like, just come down here and sit. And there's been a couple times that it's really, really, really been helpful because it's kind of snapped me out of my stupid shit. But it just amplifies how important it is to lift around people, because your shit don't matter anymore. And, you're around a group and all of a sudden you feed off that energy. And so long story short, I've talked my coach into doing a impromptu team practice this week, because I was like, dude, I need to lift around people.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's great. One of the other things that I always tell people, and I try to say it in more of like a demeaning way, where I'm like, don't be one of these people.
I like it.
Because I think that I think that I have a good mindset when it comes to competition and when it comes to performing.
You do.
And to me, when I see people after introductions line up to go and stand in the position and then squat down like they're ready to pull a lift so that they can find a spot to look at, I'm like, why are you looking out there? Nothing matters that's out there.
Right.
The end of your world is the end of that platform. You should not be paying attention to anything else than that. Because if you're staring at the crowd, you're going to get worried. There's a clock generally very close to the end of that, but you should be able to look at it. I walk up, I'm looking at the clock. As soon as I step onto the platform, I will generally not really look at the clock unless I have a lot of time. Yeah. I'm doing a countdown in my head. I like to hit the platform with roughly 25 to 30 seconds left. Mm-hmm. That's when I'd like to be on the platform. If I'm on there with 15 seconds or whatever, I'm counting down in my head. And then I know that I'm going to be pulling somewhere between 5 and 8 seconds left.
I like that.
I just think I see people all lining up and like, I need to find a spot to look at. I'm like, why do you need to look at it?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to run over there and like high five that part of the wall or something? Or like you should be looking at the wall, or I mean, you should be looking at the bar. You should, like, I don't know what's out in front of me. I could not tell you the venue that I just compete at, like the moment it's done. Like when I'm on the platform, I don't know where everything is. I'm just looking for that down signal.
Yeah. No. Well, and that's a really good point. And I've never done that either. I've seen people do it, and I've always asked myself, like, should I be doing this? But it just didn't feel right, so I never did it.
I would say it separates the people who've been doing it a while and the people who have not.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. To me, I don't know if this happens to you, but like the second I pull that bar, it all goes black. Like not like I'm blacking out, but like there is no memory from the second I engage until I catch. And when I catch, I'm like, okay, it's like you come back to your memories there, bam. And you're excited because most of the time you're making those lifts. And so to me, I'm like, I don't need to find a spot. I don't even know what's out there. It's like the thought about when you're on stage, like, hey, turn up those lights a little bit so I can't see anybody out there, because it doesn't really matter. But like it's yeah. I think it's semantics, if that's the right word, to be worried about like what's out there, because that shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. Another thing I will do very regularly at the gym is it's like everyone lifts in a certain direction. If you're on the platforms against the wall, then you face the opposite. Like you don't look at the wall. If you're on the ones on the opposite side, you face the wall. I will walk up to a bar facing the wrong direction and just go lift it. It's not a regular thing, like meaning I don't do it like every other lift, but it's a semi-regular thing where I probably do that weekly.
I've seen you do it.
Pick some random timer. I'm like, I'm just going to go and do it. And it's not going to be like 50, 60, 90 kilos. It's going to be in that 80+% range where it's like, it's no different. Yeah. And my environment isn't always going to be right here. So
yeah, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing to do, because, it's like, I think everybody's heard this, that, you can fight Alzheimer's if you like do small things like change the hand you brush your teeth with, or, put on your socks and shoes in a different routine than you normally do. And you do that stuff kind of like periodically. But it's the kind of the same thought here, which is, you're changing your environment enough that it conditions you to not worry about what your environment is when it really matters. And that right there is an indication of somebody who has lifted a long time and understands the sport and understands that, like, you can't control your environment. But what you can control is how you react in the situation. And you're training yourself, periodically to do that stuff. And that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's another reason why I don't like to wear headphones during regular lifting, is because I can't lift with them on the competition platform. I don't get to pick the music if there's even going to be music on the competition platform.
Yeah.
So why am I putting the safety blanket while I'm lifting in the gym with headphones on?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel that sometimes, and I think we're on the same page as this, but I don't know. Sometimes music gets in the way. Mm-hmm. I like to lift in a silent gym. I like to lift with music really loud. I like to lift with classical. I like to lift with rap. We've talked about music and all that, but there are times, and actually, Damon brought up something really good the other day. It was about 2 weeks ago. He was like, we were lifting and we were having a good session. And he goes, hey, can you turn it down real quick? And it was in between his lifts. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Don't like the song? And he goes, no, I need to let my heart rate come down. Because like it was, I think it was we were pumping some Metallica or something. And like, he's like, it helps when I'm sitting here and I don't have loud music going at me. And then when I go to lift, I can turn it up and, it does what I needed to do. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that. But the idea of bringing down the heart rate to calm down and then getting back up there. I don't know. My heart rate runs high at all times at a competition. So good on him for being able to control that. But that was a pretty cool little thing that it's neat to hear all the nuances that everybody does. And I kind of like it. And it's what makes a sport so individual, and everybody's lifting is just a little bit different. Everybody does a little different, like, nuances, and you get to like really see that as you're like training with people and going into a competition and seeing, like, one of the things I remember from last year is seeing all the different things people were doing on their warm-up platforms. Like, that's one of the glimpses that I remember. And I enjoy that because you get to learn a little bit about the sport and what other people are doing. And not everybody's the same.
No, that's great. No, I think also learning how to control your heart rate is a very important thing in this sport, because especially in the snatch, that's when you have to be so precise and so calm and so like spot on. Like we've talked, like you said, we've talked about music before. The music I listen to during snatch is not what most people would ever imagine listening to. Yeah. And it's just because it helps me stay calm. But then I do know that in competition settings, like, you don't have control over that kind of stuff, and you have to learn how to lower your heart rate on your own. So like, there's different techniques that are out there that some have worked for me and some haven't. For me, I do the inhale slowly and like 10 seconds in through one nostril, hold it for 10 seconds, and then slowly inhale or exhale for 10 seconds out of the second nostril. And I can do that. And within a minute, I can drop my heart rate probably 20 plus beats a minute.
Damn.
So, like when your heart is just going, and then you need to like sit down, and when you've got 2 minutes between lifts because you're following yourself, and you just, like, let's say you missed your opener, and then you've got 2 minutes and your heart is just going crazy and you need to slow it all down. Like, you have to learn how to do that quick. So, yeah. And it's not something that you learn on the competition day. It's what you've practiced, and competition is how you compete, and knowing how to do that kind of stuff is how you compete.
That's a mic drop of the day. But as you were saying that, I thought of something. So this is funny. When my daughter was a baby, and she would get really like aggro or hungry or crying. we would put a blanket over her head, like a bird.
Not a pillow?
Not a pillow. No, a blanket. And it was like, cover her head, and she would calm her down. And to this day, it happened today. She's getting all riled up. She gets on the couch. She covers her head with the blanket, and it's just like that's her cue to drop her heart rate, or to drop her emotions, and to come back to real life. I noticed that I do that downstairs with a towel. I'll put a towel kind of like over my head, just to
you like that. Yep.
Yeah, and that helps me out. That distracts me. It just turns off the outside, and it really it gets me calmed down. I usually do it when there's a lot of caffeine going on, when I have too much caffeine, and that really helps. But I can't stress enough about talking about the lead up to a competition. And I know that there's a group of people out there that do it a lot and are probably like, man, why are we talking about this? But I think that's worth talking about, because I think it's the hardest part of the sport, is 2 weeks out to an hour before. And that, to me, is the hardest part. You have your body's like I don't know if twitch factor is a real thing, but like the ability to move quickly is diminished because of the cycle you went through. Hopefully then you go into your taper, and your taper is supposed to bring that back and bring back your confidence. And then you fly to the competition, and you have all this waiting time. The waiting time is so horrible. And then you weigh in, and that right there, that 2 hours before you get on the platform, that's when I use my headphones. That's when I use music. That's when I'm shutting everything off of the real world and just being like, okay, don't think about it. Focus on whatever you're listening to. Close your eyes, go to sleep, do something. Oh boy, that's hard.
No, that is my favorite 2 hours right there, because that is like the perfect time to put on the headphones, to try to take a nap. I used to listen to specific podcasts that I don't really listen to anymore, that were like, they would help me get into that mindset. But I also found that those were turning into crutches, where like I couldn't find them, and one of them got deleted, and I was like, I got to move past this. I gotta learn how to not be so dependent on this.
Yeah.
And my buddy Tony told me this a long time ago. But he said that he was listening to some weightlifters talking. They're some of the best ones in the world. And they said, like, how do you guys stay so calm? They're like, what do you mean? This is work. I'm just at work right now. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, if you're going to your job and you have to go and cook a pizza, are you getting all stressed out because you got to cook a pizza? No, that's just what you do all the time. And he's like, this is what I do all the time. I've trained my body to know that this is just what I do. Man. And once I heard that conversation, I was like, oh, I gotta figure out how to just make this so repetition and so every day that I don't even think about it. It's just going to be, oh, cool, I get to lift at a different gym. I get to lift on a different bar that maybe it sucks. Maybe it's great. I do my research. I find out which bars generally are going to be at the competition. And then, I mean, that's what I was using all weekend. I was using the bar that we're going to be using this next weekend at the competition. I'll be using that same bar every day this week that I lift.
Nice.
There's like, you got to do your research so that you're not surprised. And it also helps keep you calm because you know what's happening.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that can jack with you is if you find out, because a lot of competitions around here now are no longer using competition collars because it goes so much faster. So they're using regular collars. So that means you get up to 140 on the bar, and it's red, green. It's not red, white, red clip. And the first time you get that kind of mental thing that can jack with you, you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's actually going to oscillate a little bit different. Like 140 is not going to be that much different, but 170 is quite a bit different.
Yep.
And so
interesting. Well, and it's so funny you say the work thing, because somebody else just told me that today too, and they were like, treat it like work, and I was like, that's genius. And then you say it, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm the only person that didn't know this, but preparation. It's all in a preparation. It's just like and when you said it, it clicked in my head. Like, okay, I just opened 3 restaurants. Those restaurants weren't able to function unless I was prepared and had all my stuff ready to go, popped in there and did my thing. So it's all in the preparation. Oh, okay. so now we're going to take the time to look at all the stuff that's going on at the competition, the weigh-ins, the not necessarily who you're competing against, but look at who you're competing against. I love the bar thing. That's fantastic. Sometimes I would say with a month out of competition, I do a lot of changing my increases. So right now I'm on 10 kilo increases with my lifting. Before that I was at 5, and sometimes it'll be at 3, and I like the 10 the best. I gotta be honest. It's all in the preparation, man. And that's such a good way to really solidify this conversation. It's just be prepared, get out there, stop. And I'm saying this to myself right now, stop overthinking it and just get out there and have a good time and do what you're doing the sport for, which is to have fun, go out there, compete, lift some heavy weights above your head and feel freaking great about it. I have one question for you. I just read this on the Masters Facebook page. So it's cool to weigh in the nude?
Oh, I have no idea.
There was somebody who posted something that USA Weightlifting Masters or whatever, the one we're going to, this one said that you had to be either in the nude or undergarments. No compression, no anything, no singlet.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, the second competition I ever had, Joe Beck was running it, and he's doing the weigh-ins. And I walk in, and I'm about 0.3 over. And I was like, cool, can I get naked? And he goes, hell no, you can't get naked. Why not? And he's like, go to the back of the line. So I go to the back of the line, and I go take a pee, and then I come back and I weigh in fine. But I'm like, why would you just let me get naked, dude? I'm like, come on.
I know USAW gives, I think, a quarter kilo or something. They give a certain.
They give a quarter, yeah.
But you have to wear your singlet, and I know that was something internationally that was an issue with, I think, Kate Vliet. I don't know whatever Kate's name is now. I can't keep up with these young people and their relationships.
I know, right?
But they were saying that she couldn't wear that specific singlet because it wasn't the one she was competing in or something. So some drama. But I think USAW you have to wear your singlet.
USAW you do, but the USA Masters, they haven't caught up to that yet. So
it's probably because the USA. I'm assuming USAW is more worried about little kids and like that type of drama or Masters.
Yeah, I know. Come on, we're adults. The funniest comment on there was like, well, I feel sorry for the people doing the weigh-ins. Yeah. Got to look at a bunch of naked dudes. But anyways, Cornell, has been a great show, dude. Good show. I'll say selfishly a great show because it's, first of all, I always enjoy talking to you about this. But second of all, I needed to talk about it. And so I was selfish about it.
Yeah. And I'm competing next weekend, hopefully, if everything goes as planned. And
yes, you are.
We can talk about that next week. I have been very surprised this week how many people because I'm beat to hell right now. I mean, my back looks like someone just shot me like a couple dozen times with paintballs, and it's like not doing well. And they're it's like, is this competition worth it? I'm like, this competition doesn't matter. So why would I back out? I'll just lower my entry if I need to.
Yeah.
And then I talked to like 2 other people, like, I'm thinking about dropping out. I was sick 2 weeks ago. I'm like, why? You've only done 4 competitions in your life. Do the meet.
Yeah, it's a local meet, right?
Yeah.
Do it.
I mean, who cares?
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. No. Just do it. I'm not going to say I haven't had those thoughts because I have, but it's the idea that And I don't know if this is the right thing to say or not, but it takes a village. And I am the person that will, ring up my friends or talk to them about it and be like, hey, talk some fucking sense into me. And I would say 99.999% of the time it works. So,
yeah. The only time I regret signing up for a meet is about like 20 minutes before weigh-in. Then once you weigh in, you're like, it's go time.
It's go
but that
time.
last 20 minutes when you're like, especially if it's tight on weight and you're like, this sucks. This is ridiculous.
No. Yeah. All right. Well, Cornell, I hope you, I'll talk to you prior to, but I hope you have a great meet next weekend. I have no doubt that you're going to kill it and have a good time and do what you do best. And other than that, we'll all talk to you all next week and have a nice little recap for you. And have a good night, everybody. Adios.
Bye.